Welcome to episode 3 of the Smash Jump podcast. This week we'll be covering all the news coming out of Xbox in the week since their big summer showcase. We'll also pick out a few highlights from the recent Nintendo Direct and discuss the best of Steam Next Fest. As usual, I'm joined by our contributor, Dylan.
Hello.
And our associate editor, Joseph.
Good to be here. Excited for this episode.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think we can start with is with all the news coming out of Xbox. Just, if anyone hasn't heard, Xbox are currently planning, according to a report by Bloomberg, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, are planning significant layoffs after the end of the fiscal year, so June 30th. And they're possibly planning on closing some key studios in their portfolio. Ninja Theory, who you'll know from the Hellblade franchise, and literally the Senua that was announced last week at the showcase. Tim Schafer's Double Fine, who obviously developed the incredible Psychonauts, and Compulsion Games, who last year released South of Midnight. Just for a bit of context on the finances, year on year, Xbox's revenue is down $500 million. Their costs are $20 billion. They currently only have a 3% accountability margin, which is a division-specific metric of profitability. 3%, so they're making $3 for every $100 of gross, which doesn't even cover inflation. Clearly, something is needing to change at Xbox. The current business model is not working. What have you guys been thinking of the recent news coming out of Xbox?
So, the Xbox stuff has been kind of fascinating to see because coming off of Summer Games Fest, the Xbox showcase and everything, most of the impressions I saw online were overwhelmingly positive. Asha Sharma has taken over as CEO. She took over the position earlier this year, and I saw a lot of posts from people who were of the opinion that, like, wow, like it really does look like Phil Spencer was holding back the brand and all this and stuff similar to that. That all almost immediately went away when this stuff started to break.
Poof.
Because, yeah, there's a lot of layers to this. There's obviously, Xbox is a business. It has to run at a profit, it has to do so and so forth. And these are the companies, these are the studios that are not producing meaningful profit for Xbox. But it's important to remember the reason they're not doing that is because of what they were told to do. For the last 6 years, Xbox's entire brand has been built around Game Pass. And the standing, what's the word I'm looking for here? The standing command from Xbox leadership was produce content. Make content for Game Pass. Make whatever for Game Pass. Should get stuff out the door. And Double Fine did that. Ninja Theory did that. Compulsion did that. And they did it in ways that you would want them to do for a project like Game Pass. Game Pass should be a way to lift up non-profitable ideas because they're being wrapped into the really big ones like Call of Duty. That clearly hasn't come about, but now the companies that made those games are the ones who are going to take the hit for it. Double Fine has put out, a couple of titles. They put out Kiln, which was a weird pottery-based fighting game thing. They put out something about there was a lighthouse game they put out a little bit ago. Weird.
That would be Keeper. That was released in 2025.
Yeah.
Side-scrolling puzzle platformer where, yes, you do play as a lighthouse.
Yeah, like
both
quirky, weird little titles.
Yeah, both games of which had whose like concurrent Steam players were in the low hundreds. Just for context, so not a huge amount of, and this is their peaks. Not a huge amount of people have been playing these games.
But those are also the Steam numbers for an Xbox studio, where the idea would be you would get these games and you would get Game Pass because you're getting stuff like this in addition to bigger stuff.
Yeah,
These
it's a
are
value
the
proposition.
games. Yeah, these are, and let's be clear here. This is how the industry works, and it's why Nintendo is number one. Nintendo is the only major player in the field who seems to understand that you have tentpole releases, and then you have smaller subsequent releases in between them that keep people engaged. Between the first year of the Nintendo Switch, it opens with Breath of the Wild, and then you have Mario Odyssey at the end of the year. In between that, there was like 3 or 4 notable games that were not Odyssey-level games, but were enough to make you take this thing out of storage and use it. The Switch 2 has kind of struggled to do that in a big way. We'll obviously talk more about that here in a bit. But Sony completely killed that aspect of their business when they shut down Japan Studio, who made games like Gravity Rush, who were these sort of mid-tier tentpole things. And as a result, the PlayStation 5 feels pretty thin on an exclusives front because they only have those big tentpole releases, but you can only make like 2 of those a year, tops. And if one of them misses, and they've kind of been missing for a bit, it's going to feel like you bought this thing for really nothing. So it is the thing where it's like these companies are doing what they're being told. They're like, and Xbox is closing them because they have to save costs. But it is the sort of classic story that the workers are the ones who get cut when management makes bad decisions. There is a bit of a silver lining here, which is that they did not immediately shut them down. They are in negotiations to spin off as independent or to be sold to other players in the field. But
yeah, I'm not in the current economic situation that Asha Sharma even lays out in her blog post that they put out on Xbox Wire a couple weeks ago. Even the economic situation that she lays out in that post makes it incredibly unlikely that these studios are either going to survive on their own or be bought by another publisher large enough to sustain them for any length of time.
A couple years ago, the answer to this would have been Tencent, which is a massive, effectively the Disney of China, who were massively expanding their games shares, like production and stuff. But in early last year, they did an initiative to completely stop supporting all foreign video game investments. We've seen that hit some stuff very hard, but the industry is in a contracting period, partially because of production costs being so high on hardware that increased adoption rates for stuff is not going to happen. You're not going to be able to sell the hardware because the hardware has to be so much more expensive to meet the cost of the components that the bulk of people can't afford to get into this if they're not already in it.
I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, that's what really interested me about the showcase, which obviously had a broadly positive reception. It interested me that Asha Sharma is talking about making this move back to exclusivity. Now, obviously for like stuff like Gears of War Reloaded, the Halo campaign Evolved, Fable, some of those horses are already out of the stable. They are coming to PS5. But, you know, specifically Gears of War E-Day and Clockwork Revolution and going forward, having this exclusivity strategy based on her own, and I'm just interested in using her own words, based on her own blog post, console components are going to be 5 times more expensive in 2027 than they were in 2024. So moving towards an exclusive-based strategy, and exclusives are, by definition, they're meant to be console sellers. They're those tentpole releases that you were talking about, Dylan, that get people in the door. How does that work when a console is you know, so much more expensive and they're consistently getting price rises? I mean, what did you think about the showcase and that strategy, Joseph?
Well, honestly, I think they're in a really tough spot right now because I think
Xbox's time to pull out of the hardware game is now, but they are far too deep in Project Helix to really consider that. They've already spent the money in research and development. They've already moved so far down the line, paying people to develop this new console. They're trying for one last stand here, and I genuinely think that it will be Xbox's final console. This Project Helix that's coming out. They're required to still push exclusives. Everybody else is doing it, and because they're stuck in the console space, they have to do it too. If they have the best exclusives possible for the next generation, and they pull some miracle to take the top spot and just be at the top of the game, mostly as a publisher, that's what it's going to take, is be the number one publisher. And Asha Sharma has expressed that that's what she wants to do. By 2030, she wants Xbox to be the top publisher in media. I think that she said the top media publisher in the world. And so that's the goal. You have to have the best content, because the PlayStation 6, is also going to be an insanely high cost. So we're not talking like Xbox is going to be on some other level and they're just going to be overpriced that nobody can afford, like other consoles won't be. They will be. We're seeing that right now with the Steam machine having just been announced. We're seeing that these consoles are going to be just out of people's price range for the general public. A lot of people will be sticking to old hardware. Releases are going to be happening on old hardware for a long time. But Project Helix is where Xbox's focus is, and they have to stick to these exclusives if they want to be the top publisher in the world. Otherwise, there's no point in having a console in the first place. And if it works, that's great, and it's everything they've worked for. And if not, I assume plan B is not to shut down the gaming branch of Microsoft, but rather to get out of the hardware space and to only focus on being a publisher, because that's really all they have left. They are the next Sega. They will be the next ones to bow out of the console space, which is insane to say because they were Sega's replacement, and I believe Sony and Nintendo are still going to outlast them. I don't think Xbox will make it in the hardware space past Project Helix, but I've talked to Persona fans before, and there's a chance that they could keep this thing afloat, so we'll see what happens.
That is true, between which were both announced at the showcase. Persona 4 Revival, as I have to say, coming February 18th, 2027, and Persona 6, which was announced. Atlas are certainly busy at Microsoft. But again, another multi-platform release. I think when you put this in combination with the sales figures of Xbox over the Series XS generation compared to the PS5 sales figures, I'm not sure. I think Asha Sharma's big reset should have been something different. I'm not sure that this. I get that when she's making this last stand, exclusives have to go with that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure they should be making this last stand at all. Mm-hmm. I worry the game might already be up.
Yeah, it really feels like it is over at this point. But I have to say, that's the conversation that a lot of people are having. It's not necessarily new information that people think that Xbox is on their way out, at least as a hardware developer. I don't think that it's necessarily as guaranteed as we try to make it out to be. I think it is most likely that Project Helix will not necessarily going to be, it's not going to be a flop. I don't think that it's going to not sell at all. I think it's going to underperform for Microsoft standards, for what they want for their gaming division. It's video games are the most lucrative media industry in the world, so they have super natural expectations for how these things are going to sell. You have to top everything that's ever been done. That's all they'll accept. Project Helix is not going to do that. It's going to cost too much. It doesn't matter how good that console is. Maybe if it's a console that is also a monitor, that is also a computer, we'll see what happens. Maybe you'll be able to sell them and get one in every home and replace computers, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here. And so I think Project Helix is just going to, I think it's going to kind of toe that line of success where we can look back at it and be like, all right, man, they were really trying, because I do think they're going to bring out all the stops here. Xbox One and the Xbox Series, they just haven't impressed, really. They've just been evolutions of each other and something that people aren't necessarily super enthusiastic about. So I think Project Helix is going to be new. It's going to feel fresh. It's similar to what the 360 did. I just don't think that it's going to be enough because I don't think there's enough investment in Xbox as a brand right now. I think that Project Helix will be successful in retaining people that are already in the Xbox ecospace, and you will make them happy and you will satisfy them with the upgrade that the Project Helix is and with the library of things that you're publishing. That all looks hopeful. I don't think people are giving up the opportunity to buy a PlayStation 6 or for computer gamer, PC gamers that want to get in the console space. You're not going to stop them from buying a Steam machine. Those are going to be their go-to. Xbox players will stick with Xbox and they may be satisfied, but you don't have the same opportunity that PlayStation has, where PlayStation right now is saying we need to capitalize on the market of our current player base. Xbox doesn't have that luxury. Xbox needs to convert video game players, video game consumers, and I don't think that they've got it in them to do it right now. And I think that this flip-floppiness of do we have exclusives or do we give up exclusives, I think it was actually the nail in the coffin. I think if they had stuck to exclusives through and through, they would be on an upward trajectory of Gears of War, Halo. There are a few games, Fable, that people will legitimately consider buying an Xbox for at the end of life here of this console.
Yeah, I mean, just to some of the other stuff that was at the Xbox Games Showcase that could have been exclusives. And I mean, I'm not across all the legalities of it, so a couple of these that I say may have always been multi-platform, and please jump out to me, guys. But Metro 2039, Crazy Taxi, Magicians, Castlevania. There's enough in that showcase that if they were half of these are Xbox exclusives,
mm-hmm.
you either have to completely remove the console exclusive strategy, or you have to go hard at it. Because giving people Gears of War and Clockwork Revolution, it's not going to bring people over, and their player base isn't large enough to sustain them right now. I want to bring it back as we kind of come to the end of the Xbox discussion. I want to bring it back to these incredible creatives at Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Compulsion Games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little biased specifically towards Double Fine and Compulsion. I played through Psychonauts and South of Midnight. I think they're two of the most creative games I've ever played. Psychonauts especially. I mean, so many people, so many gaming fans remember Psychonauts from back in the day, and then somehow Psychonauts 2 was just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
And see all these people possibly getting kicked to the curb when, yes, we mentioned that the Xbox division, the gaming division, isn't profitable. Microsoft as a whole is a multi-trillion-dollar company that makes billions of dollars in profit, and its shareholders make millions. They could afford to let these people keep their jobs and let them keep making art.
When we first started hearing that Xbox was having problems profitability-wise and everything, was that it was after their Activision acquisition, where they paid a lot to get Activision, and they paid a lot to get Activision to get Call of Duty. And Call of Duty went up on Game Pass for the first year and everything. What I remember hearing was, for a company the size of Microsoft, Xbox was basically a rounding error. When they bought Call of Duty, when they bought Activision, they threw, I think it's $74 billion. They threw a lot of money down. Well, by all metrics, Call of Duty's business in the last 2 years has been down. Black Ops 7 seemed like it did not do well among the people who liked it. It didn't seem to sell super well. For most people, it really does seem like the Game Pass strategy has negatively affected their sales. For rather than lifting up the little guy like they kind of thought, it seems like the big releases people would have put money down for that would have helped Xbox are being pulled down. You know, a big part of this is the way Xbox makes consoles, actually makes them, is different from how Sony and Nintendo do. But last year, we remember hearing, and Xbox was the first to raise console prices, and they were the first ones where people were like, yeah, I'm going out trying to get an Xbox and I can't. In the afterglow of Summer Games Fest, we heard there were some stories going around about how Xbox couldn't keep up with the demand for console purchases. Well, that's because they don't have any. And you can see, experts in the industry like Paul Tassi talking about this openly. Like, yes, that's because there's no Xbox stock because they're not putting in the money to make them because they can't afford to make them and sell them at the prices they were selling them at, and they don't think anyone's going to buy them at the new price. Whereas Sony and Nintendo can kind of still coast on those sort of pre-tariff, pre-Rampocalypse prices and kind of ride it out because they have so many in a warehouse. Although we're definitely seeing that come to an end. I think Nintendo is upping the price, I think soon, maybe the end of the month or the start of next month. And I think Sony has been out there kind of testing the waters and being like, hey, we're going to have to up this stuff pretty soon.
The whole thing feels unnecessary. When I was seeing all the adverts that would go around of some random person playing Gears of War on their iPhone on the bus, I just was thinking, right, so everything's now an Xbox. It's obviously not, I'm not being clever about it, everyone thinks this. If everything's an Xbox, then nothing is an Xbox. There's no value proposition to it. Mm-hmm. You're piggybacking on other people's hardware. And it's what you were saying earlier, Joseph, about flip-flopping. They've already flipped. The value proposition is gone. Everyone's playing cloud gaming and PC. That's how they're playing Xbox. You can't now flop back and try bring the value back. The horse is already out the stable, to beat a metaphor to death. I just don't think this is what the big reset should have been, unfortunately. I think they should have been moving forward, not trying to recapture something. I just wanted to throw out, and this is kind of, we've talked so negatively about Xbox, and with good reason. Was there anything from the showcase that stood out to you guys that you thought looked cool?
Honestly, some of these are going to be just industry-topping games that are coming out of Xbox. Some we've already known about, like Gears of War and Persona 4 Revival, Gears of War E-Day. A lot of people are very excited for a prequel to a series that felt like it needed this for a little while. They've been adding sequels, and it felt like they needed to get back down to the grassroots. I don't think it's too late to do that. I think this is going to be a really fun and exciting game that brings back the hype of Gears of War. It's not, cover-based shooters just haven't been around for a while, and people want it back. I mean, people are really going to enjoy getting online, playing some cover-based shooting, getting competitive with their friends. It's a fun time online. It's going to be really, really great. And then the other really exciting one that I want to talk about, because I am notably not a JRPG guy, so Persona 6, I can say, I'm happy you guys are getting it. You're going to love it. I would say the game that I'm looking forward to most coming out of the Xbox showcase, just because of a personal experience, other than Gears E-Day. I've been out of the Gears space for a little while, so maybe that's why I'm feeling a little detached. I might get really into that one. But the one that I'm into right now that I actually just started picking up is the Metro series. I'm only on the first one right now, but Metro 2039 is really, really exciting, even for players who have maybe only played 2033, because coming in with even the trailer talks about it. It's the main focus character here is Hunter, who is this very, very badass character in the first game who carries just a lot of weight of the, like, this is the guy that you should want to be like, and kind of turning it on its head and showing that he has changed a lot and things are going to be a lot different, and there's going to be a lot to do with the surface now, where it's a little bit more, colonized and stuff like that. There's bringing people to the surface, but at what cost? I'm really excited with the themes that they're bringing out here and the connection that it has to the minimal experience I have in Metro right now as I'm starting out with it. I already get it. So I think it might be a Gears of War thing where you're bringing us back to the roots and some of these characters that we can be excited for from the very beginning. I think the themes and setting and tone of this game. It's really gritty. It's something that I think Xbox needs to go back to. It's something these players want to go back to. I can't wait to see it. I think it's got a really good chance of doing well, even if it doesn't do anything crazy new.
No, same as you, Joseph. I'm partway through that first game. I can't remember, is that 2033 or Last Light?
2033, yeah.
Yeah, I'm partway through 2033.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
That's right. They're still doing that.
They're still doing that. I'll throw my little favorite at the end. But Dylan, anything jump out at you?
A little bit, yeah. I take a more cynical look. I take a more cynical look at the Persona stuff, just because it's like, we knew about that. That Persona 6 thing is like, oh, it's Persona 6, but like they didn't show anything. Yeah. They didn't even show you got to show me some characters and then I can be excited. But like teaser stuff is like, there was no doubt that there was going to be a Persona 6. It was a matter of if, not when. Or it was a matter of when, not if.
But Dylan, it's green. We know that it's green now.
And I would have probably guessed it was going to be green the whole time. I was shocked when 5 was red, because in my mind, Persona 2 was the red one. They'd already done red. I bought a Vita, and I played Persona 4 Golden on it probably for like 2-3 months. Persona 4 is one of those things that I didn't realize it until I beat 3 Reload, because I liked 3. 4 is woven into my DNA. There's something about 4 and its setting and its characters that I deeply love. And I tried to play 4 after I beat Reload, and nothing happened that kept me from it other than it's just a big game, so I got sidetracked. But I'm pretty excited to come back to it. The 2 games that came out on the show floor that I really have opinions about, positive and negative, are one is Doom the Dark Ages, which is getting its DLC. I like the Dark Ages. I think it's fun. It's different. It has a almost a relaxing quality to it. It's a game it's an action game I can play in sort of a relaxed state and be satisfied and have a good time with.
It's a little slower than Eternal, isn't it?
It's much slower by design.
I've only played Doom 2016. I'm planning to play Eternal and then the Dark Ages.
Yeah, I adore Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is one of my favorite games of all time. There's no way to go faster than Eternal. They pushed... They pushed the gameplay engine of Doom as far as it can possibly go with Eternal. The Dark Ages was them going back and trying to build it back up from scratch. I think they built something pretty good, but it's not best in class. What they've shown and said about this DLC is it is to the Dark Ages what Eternal is to 2016. Very, very exciting to hear those words come out. And that's one, I think that one is next month. I think it's coming out. Yeah, it's July 7th. It's like next week, so that's pretty exciting. The only other one in here, and I think this is kind of also yours, is Crazy Taxi got announced. And maybe controversial, or maybe not so much. I think this doesn't look very good. And I hate to be that guy, because me and my cousin used to play Crazy Taxi all the time. Crazy Taxi is a classic in my little mind palace. But you see people put footage of the original Crazy Taxis next to this one, and the original Crazy Taxi is fast. It is moving. It is going. The new one does not have that. And they admittedly have not shown off too much about it, but it looks slow and cumbersome in a way that the original maybe didn't. And I'll kind of leave it at that, because I think there's someone else in the industry who is maybe building the Crazy Taxi you actually want that you've not heard about yet.
Yeah, that one was interesting to me. And I know we talked about some AI controversies with 1666 Amsterdam a couple episodes back. But I think that one also had some AI art in it, which they said was placeholder. just for you guys to watch out for that at home. I had a couple. I am a PlayStation gamer, PlayStation 5. So I'm interested in Halo Campaign Evolved. I've never touched a Halo game before, never touched one. So I'm interested in what this is doing. I think its value proposition is a little different for me than it is for maybe you guys, Dylan or Joseph. I mean, obviously Halo Combat Evolved from 2001 is kind of a best-in-class, innovative first-person shooter.
Yeah. Halo 1 is super cool. And it's got something that the other games don't, which is it has like a combo system. Where Halo is the game that popularized, you have two guns and you hit a button and you switch between them, but you kind of have to swap them out with junk you find around and everything. And there are ballistic weapons and there are energy weapons. And high-level enemies have shields that take more damage from energy weapons. But flesh takes more damage from ballistic. So what you kind of want to do is use an energy weapon to take down a shield and then switch to a ballistic weapon to take them out. And it's really cool. It's really fun. And they kind of move away from it in all the other games. You can play more of Halo 2 and ODST, pure ballistic, pure energy if you want. And the game kind of builds to that. Whereas I feel like if you're trying to play Halo 1 pure ballistic, you're going to have a bad time. But the trade-off to that is like, I would say maybe 2 or 3 of the guns in Halo 1 are actually usable. A lot of them are bad. Mm-hmm. And I'm really interested in this Campaign Evolved game to see if they try to keep that, if they try to expand it. Because I do think giving more of those guns an interesting role in that sort of play-by-play could do something really cool. But I also think what they're going to do is make it feel more like Halo Infinite. And I like Halo Infinite, but I do think it'll lose some identity there. They recently put out an FAQ where they talked about some stuff, and it really took the wind out of my sails on some of the side stuff there. All cutscenes are pre-rendered. One of the big selling points of this game for me was that they were doing a bunch of alternate skins and stuff. And I love that stuff in games. I think it's fun. I think some of the skins they've been showing off are really cool and dumb in fun ways. And hearing that they're not going to be in the cutscenes really killed the momentum for me.
Yeah, I get that. I've had some of the added content interested me. So they've got 3, I don't know all the characters, but they've got 3 new missions set before the main campaign of Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
And they've got, I think they're reworking a couple of the levels. Mm-hmm. I don't have this context. I'm sure you guys will sometimes we'll get PTSD flashbacks. They're going to tweak the library level to make it flow a little bit better.
Yes.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I'm probably, it's July 28th. Yeah. There's not a huge amount coming out for me personally until like the middle of August. I'm probably going to get this. I want to see what all the fuss is about. But the other ones that I were really interested in, well, there's 3, but I'll do 2 small ones and then one big one at the end, which is we'll discuss properly. Magician's the Devil's Deal from Uppercut Games coming in 2027. I saw the trailer for this. I'm an absolutely huge fan of Dishonored and Arcane. Kind of a Dishonored-esque art style on this one, which it piqued my interest from moment one. And then kind of seeing, it might have just been the CG trailer, but kind of seeing the kind of concept of the combat where you're doing like kind of Western vaudeville magic tricks as the combat, like throwing cards and doing all those kind of tricks. It seems really interesting to me. I thought it looked cool. There's Join Us, which is a cult management sim game from Wolf House. It is quite literally a cult simulator. You're going to start as one guy, convert townsfolk, make money, fight the police, and it's co-op as well. I just thought I'll probably end up playing a single player like I play most of my games. I just thought that one was really interesting. And then finally, Fable. The trailer in the Xbox showcase unveiled the main villain of the game, Isabelle, played by Hayley Atwell. But all the preview stuff after the showcase is what interested me, seeing all like the life simulator mechanics. You can kind of build a whole life. You can buy and sell and rent businesses, date people, marry people, have kids. Your reputation will differ from town to town. Just seems really interesting. Not sure about the rest of the game, like the combat and the kind of quest design, but that life sim system alone kind of makes it worth to try to me. I mean, what did you guys think of Fable?
Yeah, overall it does look good. It looks like the time is going to be well worth it because there are some pretty complex systems overall. All the stuff you were talking about, it takes a lot of time to integrate it all together. It's going to get complicated, but it looks like they took their time with it. They've worked it all out. I mean, they delayed the game for a reason. They needed their time to make sure that it was all done correct. I don't know if this is the kind of thing where they're really trying to start up a Fable franchise. It might be, and if it goes well enough, we'll try. But I think this is like, right now, I think this is a one hit for them. They just want to get one down and make it right and make it a big seller. They're not really focused, I don't think, on necessarily the future of what Fable is going to be. They want to capitalize on what people remember from Fable and take these complex systems and make them even more complex now that we're so many consoles down the line and technology has come such a far way. It should be really exciting, and if everything works out, if all of these complex systems flow correctly, I think people are really going to enjoy this game, the systems of Fable. So I think it's a good time for the revamp, and I have a feeling people are going to enjoy it. I don't see any reason not to be positive about it.
Yeah, it's from we mentioned them earlier. It's from Playground Games. Coming out on February 23rd, 2027. They announced the release date as well, but it's coming from Playground Games, the guys who do Forza Horizon. Playground Games, because they've only done racing games up to this point.
Yeah.
So, like, what is that? They've brought in all this talent and all this, like, these new people, presumably, to help build a massive open-world RPG. What can that studio do now? If this is obviously as high quality and as deep as we're expecting it to be, what can the studio do now that they've got that talent base to work from? That was honestly my takeaway from seeing all of that. Joseph, we are going to move on to your personal favorite showcase, the Nintendo Direct on June 9th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby. I obviously am not, I don't know about you, Dylan, I'm not much of a Nintendo gamer. My girlfriend has a Nintendo Switch and we played a few things on it. I have not played that much Nintendo in my life. So I'm going to throw over to you, Joseph. What did you like from the Nintendo Direct?
Well, the first thing I liked was finding out that Scott's girlfriend is cooler than him. The second thing that I liked is the showcase.
She is.
The second thing that I liked was the Nintendo showcase. The Nintendo showcase, honestly, for Nintendo fans, this is a good one. For non-Nintendo fans, this probably wasn't too exciting. I think it's going to be a little bit split, but for people who are in the Nintendo ecospace already, I think there's a lot here to be excited for. To start things off, the one that everybody knows, it already got its own Nintendo Direct. They showed it again here. Star Fox got a demo, actually, after this Nintendo Direct, and I did play it. And, I mean, it's promising in the way that it feels like Star Fox. It really, really feels like Star Fox. I'm very excited to get back into it. For those who don't know, this is the third time the original Star Fox game is getting remade. Star Fox 64 was a remake of Star Fox. Star Fox 64 3D was the 3DS remake of Star Fox 64. And this Star Fox game is now once again a remake, polygonal original Star Fox from the Super Nintendo. So There's a lot to be excited about with this game, and the one I want to start with is with the demo having come out, I experienced one of the coolest things that I've experienced in controlling a video game ever. And this is coming from the same company that designed the Wii and that made the Donkey Kong bongos, and that they have tried so many different things. I think they've hit their most successful feel-good control scheme of all time, and that is in the mouse controls being utilized in an amazing way for the very first time. When you are holding your two Joy-Cons normally and piloting your ship, it feels good. It feels like Star Fox. It's very normal. At any time, seamlessly, without interrupting the game, you can put one of your Joy-Cons down into mouse control mode. It will read that you have changed the orientation of your controller, and it will put you into a first-person cockpit view from the R-Wing, and you can control with the mouse controls and point and aim like you're using a cursor. And it feels so good to swap in real time, because the games that I've played so far require you to reorient your controller and to take some time away from the game to actually register that you've switched. Star Fox does it seamlessly, and the demo made me so excited for what's to come. I can't wait. It's the best use of mouse controls yet. The second exciting thing coming out of this game is the multiplayer. The multiplayer aspect of this game, the Star Fox 64 and 64 3D had multiplayer. It was a simple, you're in a big open space, you shoot each other. It was fun enough when I was a kid. This has 3 competitive modes and several maps that you can play on. There's domination game modes. There's a soccer-like game mode where you have to score canisters into a goal area. I am really excited to see what comes out of that, because I never thought Splatoon would be the second most successful Nintendo esport, but it is. I can't wait to see what happens with Star Fox. I think competitive communities are going to start cropping up for this game, and I'll tell you what, I might be there.
That's cool. I mean, we should say, by the time you guys are listening to this episode of the podcast, Star Fox will already be out. It's out June 25th of this year. So, Joseph, I think we'll definitely come back to you at some point for a full review of that. I also really, and I've liked the look of this one for a while, and it's also co-op, which suits my needs. I've thought for months, Orbitals, this 2-player co-op platforming adventure from Shape Farm. It's coming out September 3rd, 2026. I think it looks incredible. I think the visual style of it and the animation is just insane and just lovely to look at. And it also kind of seems to be putting kind of a different structure than like Split Fiction and A Way Out from Joseph Fares. It kind of looks to be putting like equal responsibility on both players. I think Split Fiction and the like had a dynamic where they knew there was like one experienced gamer and one novice, less experienced gamer, and they kind of played that dynamic. Like one person was driving in a motorbike through a cyberpunk world with explosions, right, and the other one was trying to unlock a phone.
Yeah, it was doing captchas. Yeah,
yeah, doing captures. This one looks like much more equal responsibility, kind of more like a It Takes Two situation. I'm really interested in that one. Did you have any thoughts on that, Joseph?
Yeah, I did. I'm really excited for Orbitals because I think I was expecting Hazelight to have a lot more. I think I heard somebody coin the term. I don't remember who it was, but Haze-likes, which I thought was really cool. Almost like roguelike, that we use for roguelites. But Haze-like games that kind of try to mirror the style of Split Fiction and of It Takes Two. We haven't seen as many as I expected. A lot of them are more indie, and they don't really take off. To see that one of the big ones is coming out of Nintendo means that the quality of this style of game is going to stay high. The style is going to draw a lot of people in. It's got that 80s anime style, but in 3D. So you're getting a lot of 2D textures on 3D characters. And it looks really, really cool. People who really have liked anime for a long time will be able to appreciate it. People who just really like 3D art styles or art in general will really be attracted to it. But most of all, it's what you talked about. It's that co-op gameplay. This is something that Nintendo needs to lean on more. They've been going for the bangers lately, but a lot of those are single-player games. They're the Legend of Zeldas and Donkey Kong Bonanza. They don't really focus on multiplayer. Mario Kart World was good. I think the general agreement is that it was good, but for a Mario Kart game, good might not be good enough. So while some people think it's great, there are others who think it didn't quite live up. And so there's a big need for a Nintendo multiplayer game, and I think this is going to be the one. A nice couch co-op game that you can play with anybody. You could have a friend come over, you could play with your partner. It's going to be a great time. The art style is beautiful. And I like your perspective there, that it puts focus on both players kind of being able to contribute equally. It doesn't lean on one person or the other. I wonder if they'll lean into that by saying this is on a Nintendo platform. It's equal responsibility from both players. So we'll lighten up a little bit on the difficulty, make it fun but not too hard. Or if maybe they'll just lean into it and say, listen, get good, kid.
What else was there for you, Joseph?
The newest little quirky thing they've come out with that I really hope they continue on with, they've come out with the DK Challenge, which you can go into your Nintendo Online section of your Switch, if you have Nintendo Online, and you can participate in challenges from across Donkey Kong games and some Mario games from across all consoles using the emulators, and they're pre-crafted challenges that they throw you into, and you can achieve these little achievements that come in the form of cards that have little art on them that show what you've done and when you did it. And there's a little achievement system built in that doesn't necessarily have to do with every single game, but the challenges that they're putting on. I really hope they continue this. I hope that when Star Fox comes out, they do a Star Fox challenge using Star Fox 1, 2, 64 on all the emulators. I hope that they do it with Mario games. I would love to see them continue this, because these little elements that make Nintendo a platform, a limited one with less online capability and less party chat features, but a platform nonetheless with original exclusive content. I really hope they continue doing stuff like this, because I was really excited to see this and what it might mean for what we could get in the future.
No, that's cool. Just to finish off the Nintendo discussion, I wanted to end with like a couple, actually the final two items in the showcase, which I think were both a little underbaked. That's Kingdom Hearts 4 and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake.
Yeah.
We always have a like pre-show call earlier in the week, and we have one of those for the first episode. And our managing editor, Adrian, who you'll have heard in episode 1, helping us review 007 First Light, was very, very concerned about the fact that this remake is meant to release sometime this year, and all that was there was like a CG trailer, kind of looked like kind of smoothed out AI slop. He was concerned by that, and I happen to agree with him, despite not having much stake in the franchise personally. I mean, what did you guys think of that reveal trailer, and also Kingdom Hearts 4, if you get to it?
It's so thin, I would say. There's not a whole lot to go on there. I know people have noted that he looks like he has like an adult's head on a child's body, which
Yeah.
I can't really disagree with there. But like, you got to show me action, right? Like,
For a game releasing this year, you do, yeah.
This has been leaked and described for a while, that there's going to be an Ocarina of Time remake. And I think Ocarina of Time is a timeless game in a lot of ways. I never played the original. I played it on 3DS. I got a 3DS, and I remember it was over the course of a summer. I would sit at my computer and listen to whatever, and I would just play it constantly. And it held up perfectly fine. And that world that they craft is unique, and it's beautiful. And if you wanted to update it for a modern audience, it makes sense that's the one to do it with. You don't really got to do a whole lot. And what they showed didn't look great. And there's not really a whole lot, I think, to discuss with it at this point, unfortunately.
No, there's not. It's really just disappointment.
Like, you would have to show me, like, adult Link stuff. You would have to show me some deeper cut stuff. You would have to show me, like, what does Gerudo Desert look like in this version? What does the Goron City look like in this version? And if you can make those things feel... 'cause those things are quaint. They're, like all early 3D games, they're impressionistic, right? Goron City is a hole in the ground with 4 shops. If you can make that feel like a real city, through like, oh yeah, well now you can kind of see in the background, you can see all these other areas of the city. Cool. And if you can't, and it doesn't really look much better, like what are we doing here? Are they going to integrate anything from Majora's Mask, which is a direct sequel, into this? Are they going to do the Final Fantasy VII tactic, and they're going to expand out parts of the game and make it multiple releases? Though that would be weird because there are parts of that game that require you to kind of go between them.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the point of you theorizing is kind of indicative of the fact there was barely any information. I mean, Joseph, what did you think of the Legend of Zelda remake trailer?
Oh, so to preface this, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time.
Oh, no.
It is also undisputably, I mean, you can have your own favorite game, but as far as critic and fan ratings and conglomerations go, this is also the greatest game of all time as considered by the majority. It's got, I think, a 99 on Metacritic and a extremely high user score as well. It is just one of the most beloved games of all time, and I think universally accepted as the best game design of all time. So when you're looking at a game like that and you talk about remaking it, the 3DS was the last time that game should have been remade, because it was still on a handheld, which means that the graphical capabilities aren't necessarily great yet, which is good because you can upgrade, but it's not going to look lifelike. The gyro controls that were added were super cool. Everybody loved it. It was so minimal in its expansion, and everything was just a perfect little cherry on top. Just from the teaser trailer of this game, this is going to be worse than the last two entries. Even if it's a 98, even if the other two are 99s and this is a 98, it will not be as good. It will not feel the same. It will not have the same sense of wonder and otherworldliness. It is in this weird, smooth, realistic, like 2010s Universal 3D movie weird style. I think it's hideous. Adrian agrees with me, and I'm kind of taking up the mantle for him here because this is something he really wanted to talk about. The teaser trailer, the character design, it looks hideous as far as The Legend of Zelda goes. As far as The Legend of Zelda goes, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are also abominations. Not as video games, as The Legend of Zelda. And so but I mean, people love the games and they sell like crazy. So there's nothing that says this game won't do well and that people won't love this game. But it will not be, it will not live up to the original. If they expand the cities, it will lose its sense of weirdness and minuteness and perfectly crafted worlds where everything feels like it has a purpose. It'll be this big open space where you don't get to interact with everything. If they keep it small, it will severely undersell the entire style because they look like they're trying to upgrade completely and take on like this Unreal Engine looking new realistic style. If you keep it small, that's just you're underselling yourself. And so it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. They didn't need to remake this game. They're doing it because I don't think they have any hitters for the Nintendo Switch 2 coming up. I think they needed something to just really punch. So another Ocarina of Time remake, why not? I don't need this. I don't want this. Some people are going to love this. Some people are going to enjoy this. It's going to be up to you individually, but I don't think this is going to be the universally beloved game that Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time 3D were.
So, for you, this is very much an unnecessary remake. And Dylan, is there any like remakes that you've seen or played that have just, you've seen them and just thought, we don't need this?
And I think I take sort of an opposite stance to Joseph on this. The obvious one that I think the most analogous one is the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which is Snake Eater
Delta.
That is a game that has a modern player trying to play Delta or play the original Snake Eater is going to have, some growing pains to it. There's some awkwardness to it, but if they can get over that game design still works, that story still works, that game's look still works. And I do think there were some negatives to the Delta remake. I think they changed the color temperature of it in a very poor way. But also, the reality is Snake Eater is a PlayStation 2 game, and you have to keep your resources where you can keep them. And I would look at cutscenes that I've seen 1,000 times, and I would see them go in, and they would add facial animations where previously there weren't any. And it did improve the experience. It did add to the narrative. It added to, the characterization there. And I looked at that and I was like, they actually did improve this in some ways. Like this, seeing him kind of grimace or alter his expression in the scene where before he was just using his stock face because they had to, kind of maintain resource intensity, maintain system resources, did improve it. I think for the most part, Delta is a solid remake. It's not changing anything. It is just a fresh coat of paint, but it is more that animation improvement that I think put me over on the guise of this is unnecessary to this is beneficial. I do think Ocarina of Time could benefit from that. It could benefit from having a more expressive Link. It could benefit from having more expressive animations in general. And I think if they showed that, they could do that. But the real reason they're doing this is that overwhelmingly newer players don't like playing older games. They don't like, they want to play a game. People partially play games to be in the moment. They play games to participate. They play games to have their say in the moment, right? And that's kind of what we're ultimately doing here is we are throwing our hat in the ring and making a statement on what these games are or aren't. And there's a lot of players that will not go back to play older games because they're not in the moment anymore. Remaking Ocarina of Time is, for Nintendo, about making Ocarina of Time in the moment for those players. It is about bringing it forward and showing it to newer players who have not, who didn't own consoles when Ocarina of Time 3D came out, right? They only own a Switch. They only own a Switch 2. They didn't play those games because they were older. Doing this surfaces them. Doing this for Star Fox surfaces them. And, like, the changes they're in, are they getting a better or worse thing, is important. It is notable. But I do think I don't think they're doing this because they ran out of ideas. I think no matter what, they're doing this because they want Ocarina of Time to be as important now as it was 20 years ago. I just don't think they showed enough to justify it, but I do think they could. I think they could show off some stuff. There's a lot of little things they could do to add personality where there wasn't before that could be interesting.
Yeah, like I thought that. I also thought that. I'm yet to play it. I probably will. I also thought that about MGS Delta. And Joseph, like I absolutely appreciate your experience with the original. I think it's really important that they keep old versions of these games accessible. I think it's important that you and fans of the original Ocarina of Time are able to play the original version. Maybe making it more accessible. Maybe that changes a few things. Maybe making it more accessible to modern players allows people to experience parts of it.
Yeah, I think Ocarina of Time is on the Nintendo service stuff. Like, I think you can download Ocarina of Time on Switch right now and play a original analogous version.
Yeah, so I think the best analogy that I can give is Nintendo recently just released a bundle of Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2. And I think you could buy them individually on the Nintendo Switch 2. Those are Wii games. Those games came out almost 20 years ago, between 15 and 20 years ago now. And what they did to it is they put a storybook in it. that you can go to and get a little bit of background information that kind of plays into the Mario Galaxy movie. That is what they added to that game. That is more than Ocarina of Time even needs to be touched up. All that Ocarina of Time needs is for the 3DS version of that game to maybe get spruced up a little bit for an HD console, and for an HD/4K console, and just port that with its gyro control additions that the original game didn't have, and with the Master Quest that was already in, that they put in the 3D version, just port that to the Switch. That is all they needed to do. If you want to add some little fun stuff here and there, like the storybook in Mario Galaxy, that's fun. That's cool. You did not need to, what is that movie with Jack Frost? The Guardians? That's what Link looks like. Rise of the Guardians. That's what Link looks like. He looks disgusting. They didn't need to remake Ocarina of Time. They didn't need to do it. Just like they didn't need to remake Mario Galaxy. Mario Galaxy is an amazing game, and making a Switch version, a version specifically for the Switch that you can download, that you could buy, and you can play on that console. That is what Ocarina of Time needed. That's what modern fans needed, is the 3DS version of the game with some of those updated control systems. That's what we needed from Ocarina of Time. And instead, we're getting a full-on remake that I worry they are going to try to lean into the new gameplay systems of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and try to expand into that. And that just takes away from what Zelda is and how limits define your gameplay. And I'm afraid that they're going to give it too much. Honestly, these new visuals are already turning me off. So I'm not impressed with the idea of an Ocarina of Time remake for Switch in general. It's not just that this trailer or something isn't doing it for me. It's the entire idea of an Ocarina of Time remake that's so unnecessary.
To cut in real quick, my counter to that is Mario Galaxy still looks really good. Like, all you got to do is up the resolution. Mario Galaxy could release on the Switch today. That's not true of Ocarina of Time. I don't even think that's true of the 3D version of Ocarina of Time, because it did require so much, not compromise, but it did have to be kind of reduced. Mario Galaxy is just an exemplary modern game, but I think if you made Mario 64, they couldn't. They had to put 64 with Sunshine and Galaxy to kind of get it back in the hands of people. I think it's like, and also that Galaxy duology didn't drop out of nowhere. It was tying into a major movie release, like a huge film release that was called Mario Galaxy, and this was sort of their way of like, hey, now you can see where they're kind of pulling from here. I don't think that Zelda movie's coming out this year, and I don't think that Zelda
coming out 2027.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be Ocarina of Time majorly. I think it's going to be kind of a pastiche of stuff. But like, if you want imagine like if you want new film fans to care about Citizen Kane, which is super influential and important. If you want them to care, you gotta shine it up. You gotta sell it to them as a new release that they can go see alongside other stuff they're already interested in seeing, that they can have an opinion on. And if that opinion ultimately is, holy shit, you should go watch the original because it looks way better than this, that kind of works. And we see this, actually. I've completely forgotten about this. That's what Disney is doing with their live-action remakes. Every time you say a live-action Disney remake is worse than the animated version, that works because they own them both. They get them both. The point is, you weren't going to talk about Beauty and the Beast on a random Sunday for no reason. The live-action remake is a reason to talk about both of them. And if either of them work, they end up winning both sides.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out this year, so I guess we'll see which side of the remake spectrum it falls on. And Dylan, what did you think of Kingdom Hearts 4 as well? I think I mentioned that earlier.
So I'm a big Kingdom Hearts guy. I've been since grade school, which is a little weird because I'm not necessarily a big Disney guy. Kingdom Hearts is fascinating because it is Square Enix's experimental division, Whenever Square Enix wants to experiment with a system, that's where it goes. They put it there. And every one of their games is super different, and every one of them is super bizarre and goes into weird territory. And a lot of them don't hit, but when they hit really well. It's been a while since we've seen anything from 4, and what we've seen here is not necessarily new. There's a little bit of gameplay, there's a little bit of combat and everything. But the kind of looking over the trailer again, because I was pretty okay with, like, I don't really have a lot to say about it. But looking over the trailer again, the introduction here is a character explains that Sora, who is our main character, the idea of the series is he hops between worlds and kind of helps them fight this, like, ethereal darkness. And those worlds are all different Disney properties. Occasionally a Squaresoft property comes up, like Final Fantasy or The World Ends With You. But it looks like he's been moved into a totally different world. Like a world that's very modern, kind of chic, kind of almost like an unfinished Final Fantasy. A character at the start says that this world had no concepts of light and darkness before we showed up. But because we understood what it was, because we've defined it ourselves, it has personified in this world the way we saw it. That's dope. That's an awesome idea. That's super high concept. I'm a big fan of a series called Fate. And Fate plays in that sort of space of concepts manifesting as living things, as weapons, as you know, as above, so below, that sort of thing. The idea that this world doesn't know what right and wrong are. The moment we showed up, because we know what it is, it has manifested here as a physical force that they have no defense against. That's super cool. That's the type of big, heady ideas that I really like in Kingdom Hearts, because they just throw it out there.
Was there anything in the trailer? It just seemed a little, like the setting seemed a little thin. It just seemed to be like Tokyo or just a basic city.
There is some interesting stuff there. So, way back in 2008, I want to say, when they announced Final Fantasy 13, they announced a couple of side projects with it. One of them was called Versus 13, and it was an action RPG like Kingdom Hearts 2 in like a like dark modern world. And it was supposed to be a fantasy based on reality. And it didn't show up for years. And then in like 2014, they revealed that project had become Final Fantasy 15. But it had a new director, and it looked kind of different. And by the time it came out, it really felt like a lot of the stuff that was intriguing about Versus 13 had kind of been scrubbed away in 15. Kingdom Hearts 3 has a little joke where there's in the Toy Story world of all places, there's a video game called Verum Rex that is clearly supposed to be like a fake Final Fantasy that looks a lot like Versus 13. When they put out the like special DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, the super bonus boss they put in is the main character of Verum Rex. The ending of that and the trailers for Kingdom Hearts 4 seems to say that's where Sora, the main character, has ended up. He has ended up in the world of Verum Rex, which is the unfinished Final Fantasy 13 verses that never got done. And I do think it maybe looks a little undercooked, but it doesn't have a release date. I have to assume stuff like lighting and stuff like the atmospheric aspects of it, they're going to do as a final pass because they want the games to feel responsive and quick and good in a way that a lot of the other projects don't. Because I think that's what sells Kingdom Hearts in a big way, is that it is closer to an action game than an RPG. It's weird. It's weird, and it's
Yeah.
big, and it's bright, and it's interesting.
No, that makes sense. I have to say that as someone who has never played a Kingdom Hearts, that was completely impenetrable to me. But for those people that love Kingdom Hearts, I'm glad to hear you say something positive about that trailer.
Yeah.
Because I've not seen much in the way of positivity about it. But you're right, it currently doesn't have a release date.
Yeah.
Dylan, I also wanted to, very quickly before we finish up, you've been doing a lot of our preview coverage from Steam Next Fest. I just wanted to see like what some of your favorites from that event were. I wanted to start with Silver Pines.
Yes.
It is a 2D horror game with kind of a Silent Hill atmosphere.
Yeah.
You've got a fantastic preview article on the Smash Jump website. Please visit smashjump.com to see Dylan's article on that. What did you think of Silver Pines, and then what were some of your favorites from Steam Next Fest, Dylan?
So Silver Pines is, I think it kind of came out a little bit ahead of Next Fest, but it is certainly what kind of made me interested in exploring that a little bit more. It is from, I think they're like Wick Games or something. They have a bit of a weird name. It's developers who've worked on stuff like Helldivers 2 and like pretty major releases, but nothing horror related, nothing quite like this.
Wick Elm.
Wick Elm.
It's WYCH, so Wick Elm. Yeah. They're a Swedish studio. They're 5 people.
It is a side-scrolling Silent Hill is the easiest way to sell it. It reminds me a lot of a game called Lone Survivor, which was a pixel art thing on the Vita that I remember playing a lot, and I remember thinking was really unique. And I've, despite being way into indie horror stuff, have not heard anyone talk about for like 20 years. Silver Pines is as much Alan Wake as it is Silent Hill, I would say. It takes place in the American Northwest. You are a detective or a private investigator who shows up to town ahead of a really big, seems like a hurricane, and so most of the town has left, and you're looking for a musician named Eddie Velvet, seemingly because a young woman has ran off with him. And I kind of get the idea that you're there to get her back because the family has hired you. The game hides a lot of its story in some interesting ways. You save the game at payphones. When you are saving the game, you are calling back to your client and giving them updates. And on occasion, they will kind of respond back to you and like, hey, have you seen so-and-so? What about this? What about that? And you kind of peel a little bit of the story back that way.
Did they run out of typewriters?
There's not as many typewriters in America as you think there are. They're more of a novelty here than the Japanese seem to think.
Capcom have been lying to me.
Yes.
Anytime I'm scared, I expect to see a typewriter around the corner. Anyway.
There's not that many payphones anymore either, to be fair. So
Yeah.
what really sets it out, I would say there's 2 big things. One, the game's gorgeous. It's 2D. It's borderline photorealistic. Its environments are clearly, I think, like photos kind of used as reference. But the characters are rotoscoped, and their animation is very fluid. They kind of have that impressionistic view of them, where you get an idea of what they look like, but not necessarily a detailed view of what they look like. And a big thing that kind of set it off for me was I feel like it was making a lot of smart decisions for the game's longevity. When I look at these systems, I can see how they can play out for a full game, and I think it looks really good. One system I really liked is the game has you, as you kind of explore, you find money and stuff just ambiently. And near the end of the game, there's a vending machine. And the vending machine has shotgun shells, it has normal bullets, it has some healing stuff. I don't think there's any way to get everything in the vending machine. But there is a way to get at least what you need. And it was an interesting idea of, hey, are you going to upgrade it? Are you going to buy ammunition for the shotgun, which one hit kills everything in the game, but you're only getting 3 shells? Or are you going to buy 6 handgun bullets, which won't do that, but might go further? And I liked the idea. I felt like because the game was so kind of drawn in, that you only have 2 guns and you only have $15 and you only have so much, I felt like that decision carried a lot of weight. The gunplay feels good. There's no cursor or anything, so when you aim, you go up and down, right? But you can't really be certain where your bullet is going to land in a way that felt very grounded. I had a fun, like, tactile thing here where excuse me. I had a fun tactile thing where when you load something, it has a little active reload minigame, very Gears of War-esque. When you use the shotgun, you have to dry fire to eject the shell. I didn't know that, and I didn't want to waste the bullets. So when I finally got into combat where I was using the gun, I didn't know I had to eject the shell and it wouldn't fire on me. And so I'm in the middle of a combat thing, and suddenly I realize I don't know dick about this gun or how to use it. And it occurred to me that if I was really in this situation, I probably would shoot this gun a couple times to feel how it works, instead of trying to minimize my resource eating like I was trying to do. Instead of playing it like a game, playing it like I would. It's a pretty quick demo. It's about 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. I highly recommend checking it out. It seems like a nice little chunk of game. And that kind of opened me up to previewing stuff that was just sort of out there on Steam, just kind of to get the word out about it. That kind of brought us to what is kind of the next big thing that I did, which is a demo for Sprawl Zero. Sprawl Zero being the sequel to the 2023 boomer shooter Sprawl. That one was kind of a movement thing. I've had it on my wish list for a while, but I've not actually played it at all. But I saw buzz about Sprawl Zero on Twitter, and I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out. This game rules. Sprawl Zero is awesome. I would, I don't know if this is going to play as well as I hope it will. This is to shooters of the 2000s what Expedition 33 is to classic JRPGs.
A remix of it.
Of let's take all the cool mechanics from those systems and just put them together.
Nice.
So it's a arena shooter. It's got sort of it's not as fast as Doom Eternal, but it kind of feels that way in how much you're doing. You have sort of like Doom the Dark Ages. You have in that game you have a gun, but you have like 3 other abilities that you can access at any time, and you're supposed to kind of what gun you're using at any moment in that game is what you want to use. And you're kind of trying to build your own gameplay loop around the gun you like. This is not quite that. This is, you have one gun. When that gun runs out of bullets, you need to get another gun. Around the gun, you have a gravity gun kind of idea. You have a fear-style bullet time system. And then you have like a shield that you pull up and then deflect bullets back at people. There's at least one other system in the game that's not in the demo, but it's in like you can see it in like the control section. It's super fucking fun. It is, there's a little bit of Doom Eternal in here where in that game you use, if an enemy's on fire, they drop armor. If you use ice, they drop health. If you're using the bullet time system, enemies drop health. So you kind of want to get in and then use these systems to get out and kind of cover yourself. But they work so fluidly and it's so fun. And you get in here, you pull a gun off of a dude, off of a corpse or whatever. You're firing it, your gun's out of ammo, you throw it at a dude and it knocks his gun out, and you use your gravity gloves to grab that, and then you use slow down to pull back as you're shooting at these dudes as you move back. The whole thing is 10 seconds. It's brutal, it's fast, it's super fun. It feels like a game that has so many different ways to do it. I've played this demo like 4 times, and every time I'm having the time of my life.
Sounds really fluid.
Yeah, it's super good. If Sprawl Zero, the full game, is this game, but with like 50 different arenas that you should go down in a list, it would be a great game. It's not that. It's a full campaign. It's got a story. There are hidden chests throughout the demo that will give you random guns from the full release, and there's something like 40 of them. Some of which are dumb. Some of which are nonsense. But it's a really good time. That's got a full preview on the site. That's part of Steam Next Fest, which is a big demo thing they do every year. And that was what inspired me to go through and just play a bunch of them and see if I found anything good. And I did. I found a couple of good things. I'll burn through a couple of these real quick. These are all going to be part of a article that will have some more stuff in there that you can kind of burn through as well. I highly recommend checking some of these out. There's a couple of games that are making the rounds that I didn't include because I don't think they quite came together. But I do think they're worthwhile. They're interesting. But I wanted to focus on some stuff that seems a little more fully formed. So I'll only talk about a couple here. The first one I want to spotlight is Normal Golf Game. Normal Golf Game is from the creator of Fruit Ninja, who probably doesn't ever have to do anything, right?
No, like, that feels like he can sit back. He can sit back and let the rights roll in, the money roll in.
Fruit Ninja, and he did another game that was also pretty big on the mobile space in like 2016 or something. But I digress. Normal Golf Game is, you can assume by the title, it's subversive. It's going to be something else. And I think people have framed it as a horror thing. And maybe it will be in the full release, and maybe there's something that I haven't seen in the demo that showcases that. But what it is maybe the most complex simulation of golf I've ever seen. You, in this game, so other golf games, if you're not familiar, a lot of them are like you are entering almost mechanically entering like digits. You are lining up your shot, and then the gameplay is maybe like a power meter with a timing thing. This game is so complicated. The UI, the feel, like the part where your dude is actually standing in front of the golf ball is the smallest part of the screen. You have a stick figure who has a club, and you use the mouse to grab it and physically swing it into the ball. And another screen, you have a top-down view of the angle of the putter and like the angle of the ball. And that one you input with the keys on your keyboard. The trick is that they're not static, they're fluid. They're constantly moving. They're constantly adjusting. So what it is you are kind of trying to get the ball angle where you want it to be, and then you're frantically trying to hit it before it moves too much from where you want it to be. And it's nauseating to play. It is absurd. It is super interesting. But by the end of the demo, I felt like I got a handle on it, and I was actually doing pretty good. It is a horror game in the sense that it's aggravating to play, but it does feel like you can do it. I don't care about golf. I never have. I have family who like golf, and I do not get it.
Yeah, I played golf until I was 10, and it is definitely a horror show. In 6 years of playing golf, I never hit a ball hit a ball right. So I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of stuff to keep a handle of simultaneously, and it sounds like the game's reflecting that.
To kind of leave off on that one real quick, like when I finished playing that game, I felt like I understood the complexity of golf more than I did before, which is very like, what a great way to do that, right? It doesn't simplify it. If anything, it brings up all the complexity. The sort of opposite end of that is Vholume with an H after the V at the start. This is, I would say, the opposite of an idle game almost. An idle game is a game that, like, you build up resources when you're not doing anything. This feels like a game that's pure purpose is to make you present in a specific moment. It is described as a liminal parkour game. You are put in this big, expansive, unsettling map, and you run through it to get to the end as fast as possible. And you're wall running, you're kicking off of stuff, you're finding little exploits and everything. It is so fluid. It is butter smooth. I've played through this demo like 3 times. It's a lot of fun. The environments are weird and upsetting on one end. There's like 3 or 4 levels. One of them's like unsettling. One of them's kind of nice and clean, and the other one just sort of feels like an in-between. Just a cool little game. There's apparently going to be something like 40 maps in the full release, and it does seem like something that it's playing to the speedrunning crowd for sure, but for my money, this feels like a series of interactive wallpapers that I can kind of zone out to. And then the last one I kind of wanted to focus on, kind of to play off of what we were doing with Crazy Taxi earlier, is called Truck-kun is Supporting Me from Another World. This is a very big, very silly little thing. If you're not an anime person, you may not know what all this means, but for the last 10, 15 years, a major part of the industry of the format has been what's called an isekai, where the idea is usually a normal average person dies in some tragic event, and because it wasn't their time, they are reincarnated into a world, usually a fantasy world that runs on like video game logic, so they can kind of be the hero they were supposed to be. There's a lot of silly renditions of that. There's a lot of goofy versions of it. This is on the goofier side. You are not playing as the lady who gets hit. You're playing as the driver. The problem is you're playing as the driver of the truck that struck and killed her. The problem is her life was going pretty good. She doesn't want to be in the fantasy world. She wants to get back to her world as fast as possible.
Right.
So she is forcing you to help her. And the way you help her is by hitting civilians with your truck, who are then sent to the fantasy world as like monsters that she can fight to level up faster than she normally would, so she can beat the bad guy and get reincarnated back into the main world.
What?
In practice, it's a mixture of Crazy Taxi and like Katamari Damacy. It's this goofy cityscape with all these little people running around doing dumb stuff that you're just barreling through. As you hit obstacles, as you destroy the environment, what you get is you power her up so she can use like her special move to take down monsters. So you're kind of weaving between hitting civilians and hitting stuff out in the environment and just shredding through it. It is deceptively fun. I found the writing style a little overbearing at first, but kind of once you can burn through the tutorial stuff, it's a lot of fun. It's very simple. It's very cutesy. It plays a little more to the absurd angle of it.
Yeah.
But it really felt like it was taking the ideas of a Crazy Taxi and expanding them today in ways that I feel like what they've shown with the actual Crazy Taxi stuff does not do. It's got real mobile energy to it, but in a pretty positive way, in that it feels like a game that you could probably play on like an original iPhone because they've stripped it down so much. But the trade-off is it's incredibly fluid. It feels good. It's probably going to run on whatever you put it on forever, and it seems like a great little time waster. I don't think it will necessarily expand into like a big, huge thing, but I do think it's something that you could use to kill some time and walk away pretty satisfied from.
That's fun. Well, Dylan, thank you so much for covering that, and Joseph, thanks for all the Nintendo chat. And boys, thanks for joining me for episode 3 of the Smash Jump podcast. It's been fun.
Yeah, always happy to be here. It's a great time.
Yeah,
of course. We will see you guys for episode 4 very, very soon. Thanks for joining. Bye.